Good morning, everyone, and happy hump day. It is Wednesday. It is after Christmas. I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas. I hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas. We got ourselves a treat in boxing because 2 days before Christmas, we got quite a lineup of fights over in Saudi. And if you're a betting guy like me, it ended up being a productive betting day and a lot of stuff to bet on. And on top of that, we got the pound for pound king and the fighter of the year fight the morning after, very early at like 5 a.m. my time. So we had quite the Christmas for boxing fans, and we had gifts to open as far as boxing fans. And I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas. I hope everybody spent it with their families. I hope you didn't get too drunk. I hope you didn't get too belligerent. I hope you weren't the family member that everybody's kind of looking at and saying, that guy just had too many. Send him home. Send him home. He's had too many. Maybe JC was one of those guys. I don't know. Shout out to JC. Shout out to Los Chingones Boxing. Tapped in. Appreciate you. Appreciate y'all over there. What's up to my guy, Edwin Castillo? Hit the likes on the way in. Maybe I'll have something negative to say about Benavidez today from my guy, Edwin. Maybe so. Maybe so. Maybe I'll say the menstrual monster for my guy, Edwin Castillo. But we got some stuff to talk about. I haven't been, and I'm trying to sneak this one in because my kids are in the other room. I got my kids right now off of school. So they're in the other room trying to get this in because I've been itching to get back behind this microphone. Haven't done anything in about a week. And we had a lot of fights to talk about, a lot of developments. So is what it is. Inoue definitely a fight of the year and pound for pound number one. I agree. And I'm going to give my salute Kangs. Shout out James Burrell. I'm going to give my assessment as to why I believe those things. Because we always back up what we say with facts. I try to. And I'll try to give my honest assessment about Inoue's performance yesterday and why I feel this way about Inoue in particular. Y'all make sure to hit that like button. Get those likes up. But I appreciate y'all, man. The year is coming to a wrap. It's been a productive year here on this channel. We've gotten what we want out of it. We've shown some growth this year, particularly when it comes to engagement. And when people click here, they stay here. The engagement has shown that in the back office. So I appreciate everybody who's been watching the podcast in its entirety this year. It's not just about clicks. It's about who is staying, and people are staying here. So I appreciate that. So we'll talk pound for pound. We'll talk about Inoue. We'll talk about Tapales and his performance because I thought he was a tough cookie in this fight. And we'll talk about the heavyweights from the 23rd. And Deontay Wilder, our guy Deontay Wilder, boy, he wore that crown to the ring. And I'm watching him like, it's funny that he's wearing a crown because he's not the king of anything. What is he the king of? He's wearing the crown, but he's not the king of anything. He doesn't own any belts, so he's not the king of the division. So why is he wearing the crown and the robe to the ring? It's weird. It's an odd thing. He's the king, but he's not the king of anything. Sort of an odd thing. But I'm watching this card and its development, right? And I see Jaya Opatai, and I say, that dude's that dude. Like, this was a mismatch, but I'm telling you, this is a guy that's gonna, within a year or two, be on pound for pound lists, and he's a problem at cruiserweight. And he'll likely be ducked at cruiserweight. And hopefully the Saudis start to develop some matches for him, possibly Dimitri Bivol. And speaking of Dimitri Bivol, he's a good example of a dude. We talk about how fighters are not in charge of who they pass a baton to, right? So Canelo is not in charge of who he hands the baton to, right? Fighters need to take their own career in their own hands, right? And they need to go after it and go get it, right? So Dimitri Bivol beats Canelo, and you say, great. And then he beats Zerto, and you say, okay, great, fighter of the year. And then what happens? 13-month layoff. What happens? Allegations of beating his wife. Not good. None of this stuff is good. And you put this guy behind a microphone, And it's like talking to the most boring dude on the planet. It's like, I understand, dude, your English is your second language. I understand, but you need to develop a personality. Please develop a personality. And if not, can you go in the ring and knock somebody out? And he did against Lyndon Arthur what we've been saying about Dimitri Bivol for a while. He's a super talented guy. Super talented in the ring. One of the best defensive fighters in the world. One of the best, most versatile fighters in the world. Just super talented, a pound for pound talent. But can you please get it out of third gear? Please. He's a guy who performs up to the level of competition. He showed that against Canelo. He finally takes it out of third gear. But other fights, it just looks like the dude is just coasting on cruise control on his way to decision. Can you please sit on some punches? Can you please get this guy Lyndon Arthur out of there? Give us something to be excited about. For the love of God, you've been going 13 months. For the love of God, the only time we hear about you is allegations about beating your wife, or Canelo didn't offer me this, and Canelo didn't offer me that, and Canelo didn't. Dude, you had momentum. Do something with it. And the Saudis hand you a bag to go in there and fight Lyndon Arthur, who you're 36-1 favorite against or whatever, and you cruise to a decision. And I bet Dimitri Bivol decision. I wanted a decision to happen, but there's the other part of me that's sitting there and I'm like, for the love of God, dude, get this guy out of there. Wake up. Get the guy out of there. Dimitri, can you please get this guy out of there? It's right there for you. Get this guy out of there. Nope. When's this round? When's that round? When's that round? When's that round? When's that round? Get it in fourth gear. Can we at least get the fourth gear, Dimitri? No. Decision. So it's death, taxes, Bivol decision. That's where we're at. And it's good. Win some fights, but you got to fight more if you're going to do that. If you're going to be boring, dude, at least fight more. Climb the pound for pound rankings. But death, taxes, Bivol decision. That's where we're at. The safest bet in boxing at this point is Bivol decision. It doesn't matter who he's in there with. It's even better as a better if it's a mismatch, right? Because then you can get, like I got, minus 100 or whatever it was, and win a bunch of money, Bivol decision. You had to have gotten Lyndon Arthur out of there. Come on. Got to get Lyndon Arthur out of there. Nothing against him. Happy New Year to the Calix household. Happy New Year to the D-Style Boxing household. Appreciate the super chat of $5 from my guy D-Style. And we got to connect at some point this week, me and D-Style, to get an HCP in before the end of the year. We got to do that. You got to sound like Mike Tyson, the menstrual monster. Any word on who Canelo's 5-day Mayo will be? I'm hearing it's been a duck ass. It's funny every time. It's funny every time he says it. Calix love Inoue. My guy blares his pip. And let me tell you this. I'm in my bed. I'm just minding my own business. No, I'm not actually, I wasn't in my own bed. I was wrapping presents for my kids on Christmas Eve. I'm just sitting there minding my own business, wrapping presents, and I click on, I don't get the alerts because YouTube is stupid. But I click on, I see D-Style's live. All right, D-Style. Yeah, let me click on him. And then D-Style is slandering me online on his live, saying, you can't have a 1A and 1B. Look at Calix's pound for pound list. You can't have a 1A and 1B, which good news for everybody. I no longer have a 1A and 1B after yesterday. And I see Blazers Pip in the chat slandering me and slandering my name. Look at Calix's pound for pound, 1A and 1B. And then guys are saying, look at my 3C and my 3D and my 3E. And Calix is just a guy on the porch yelling at the skateboarders. And I guess I am at this point. Yelling at the skateboarders. Stop doing half ollies on my sidewalk. Stop going into my driveway. You're getting way too close to my truck with your little flip, ollie, half spins, or whatever skateboarders do. Just stop. I'll just be that guy. It's fine with me. I'm the skateboard guy. I'm the guy yelling at the skateboarders. That's what I'm going to do from here on out. He tried to stop Arthur until Arthur hit him with that body shot. Well, he should have tried harder. He should have tried harder to stop Lyndon Arthur. I'm sorry. He should have stopped Lyndon Arthur. He should have stopped him. He should have stopped him, and he didn't. Get something going, Dimitri. Get something going. Get off of my lawn. Jesus, Mr. T, appreciate you giving people bounties out there. Happy holidays to Nando Yamas. We don't say happy holidays over here. We say Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. That's what we say, Nando. Better Biv is a better puncher. Yeah. Bivol is a pure master boxer. I would like to see him be a better pure knockout guy. Like, just knock somebody out, for the love of God. Knock somebody out. Having a top 11. I don't have a top 11. Yeah, he did. He did accuse me of that. He did. Like, D-Style's just slandering people. He accused me of having a top 11 list. I don't have a top 11 list. It's just D-Style. D-Style. So I'm watching, I'm going up the card, right? And it's a good card. It's got a couple upsets. I'm seeing Dubois stop Big Baby. Big Baby. If Big Baby was a couple inches shorter, he'd be a perfect circle. But I'm watching Big Baby roll around the ring, and I'm seeing these Amero bums go over to Saudi and Amero bum it up, right? We talk about Euro bums, but now we got Amero bums or Americans. These dudes are just, look at Deontay Wilder, right? He go over to Saudi and disappoint. And I'm watching this dude roll around the ring. Because like I said, he's almost a perfect circle. If he's just like 1 inch shorter, 2 inches shorter, he'd be a perfect circle. He's just rolling around the ring like a donut. Just rolling around the ring like a donut. And his mouth is wide open, gaping after round 3. And then I see Dubois finally stop him. And I tell you what, I jumped up and down when Dubois stopped him because I bet Dubois stoppage in this fight. And I'm saying, Dubois, can you please stop this dude? Can you please stop this dude? Can you please stop this dude? He is nearly a perfect circle. He's just rolling around the ring. His mouth is wide open from the 3rd round on. Please stop him, Dubois. Stop this dude. Stop him. And with 10 seconds left, Dubois stops him. And it shocks me because Dubois just has no emotion at all. You see Dubois in press conferences before the fight, he just got the blank stare on his look. He just looking like he just rolled out of bed, you know? He fights like that sometimes too. After the Usyk fight, the people out in boxing public were more irate with the Usyk low blow stuff than Dubois was. Dubois just sitting there looking around, you know, just looks disinterested, right? Just looking around, but he stops him and it's beautiful. That's the type of stuff, once again, that gets people talking, right? Now people are talking about Dubois. Had Dubois got a decision, but he has the nerve to step on it and get Big Baby out of there. And it was beautiful, right? It was beautiful. Been waiting on your breakdown to this, big homie. Shout out Steel Mills Boxing with the $2 super chat. Appreciate you. Cha-ching, super chat. Cha-ching, super chat. Appreciate you. I'm going to get to some of these other comments in a minute, but let's start to tackle Wilder, Joshua, Inoue. A lot of stuff to say, in particular on Inoue. Wilder. I'm watching Wilder with the greatest right hand of all time. This guy is an all-time great heavyweight. And how do I know he's an all-time great heavyweight? Because he's tall and he's big, right? And anybody who's tall All right, I think I'm back. Internet stuff. There we go. I think I'm back. Internet issues. Like I said, kids are on tablets out there. I got like 5 kids, 6 kids out there on tablets. So it is what it is. We might have some internet problems today. But Wilder's hilarious to me because I've been told, the right hand from hell. That right hand has so much fury on it. When Deontay Wilder's right hand touches anything, it's baptized and that thing is just going to disintegrate. it's going to just fall to the ground. Anything. When Deontay Wilder touches you with that right hand, it's over. And I've been told for about a year now, 2 years, that if Anthony Joshua dared step in the ring with Deontay Wilder, it'd be over within 3 rounds. It would be over. There is no way. There's no way. If Deontay Wilder touches Anthony Joshua with that right hand at any point in his body, it's over. It's done. Anthony Joshua, complete mismatch. Anthony Joshua, do not step in the ring with that guy. If Deontay Wilder just touches Anthony Joshua with one finger from that right hand, it's over. The pinky finger of Deontay Wilder would knock Anthony Joshua out. Deontay Wilder is one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. And how do I know this? Because he's tall, right? And anybody who's big and tall and is a heavyweight and a top 5 heavyweight right now beats every heavyweight from previous generation. I've been told this by the boxing public, by the media. I've been told this. These guys are too big. There is no way Evander Holyfield could take these punches. No way. Mike Tyson, no way. There's just no way. Joe Frazier, forget about it. That guy's a midget compared to these guys. There's no way Joe Frazier would last 3 rounds with Deontay Wilder. And I'm watching him against Joseph Parker, and he lands 19 punches in 12 rounds. And I'm watching the Deontay Wilder crew just melt down after the fight, because now they know that if they put Deontay Wilder in the Hall of Fame, they also have to put Joseph Parker in the Hall of Fame. Because Joseph Parker has a better resume and a head-to-head win against Deontay Wilder. So now we got to figure out a way, much like they had to figure out a way to get, if they put Alabama in the playoff, they also have to sneak Texas up from 7-3 to get them in the playoff and keep Florida State out, right? So we got to do the same thing with the Boxing Hall of Fame. If we put Deontay Wilder in, we got to figure out a way to put Joseph Parker in now at the same time. What happened? I mean, this right hand, he touched Joseph Parker with it 19 times. I thought when he touched people with his right hand, it's over. It's over. There's no way, like, you can't, dude, 19 times. Joseph Parker should have been annihilated. He should have just disintegrated into thin air. But it didn't happen. And I'm watching Deontay Wilder and I'm texting people. I'm like, he looks like Bambi on ice. What is going on? He looks like Bambi on ice out there. And I figured out what happened. It's Mark Breland is still up to his magic. He's still up to his voodoo. Mark Breland's out there somewhere, and he's still accomplishing things as far as holding Deontay Wilder back. I thought about this Christmas morning because I bought my kids Heelys. You know Heelys, like the shoes where they have the they're kind of like skates too. They have the wheel that comes out the bottom, and you can skate. And I figured it out. Mark Breland sent an Amazon driver out to Saudi, got him in the locker room, and delivered Heelys and switched them. They look like Deontay Wilder's boxing shoes, but he switched them with Deontay Wilder's boxing shoes. And that's why Deontay Wilder looked like Bambi on ice out there. Mark Breland not only poisoned Deontay Wilder in that second Fury fight, now he snuck Heelys into the ring to where Deontay Wilder looked drunk out there. I couldn't figure out why, but then I figured it out. He had Heelys on. He's just skating around out there. He can't get his footing. I'm watching Deontay Wilder. I'm like, what happened to his legs? What happened to his legs? It's like, oh, he always looks like that, but he just has a stationary target in front of him. And I'm watching Joseph Parker and I'm watching Andy Lee in the corner, and they're doing the same thing. And it's specific and easy instructions that are easy to follow. And Deontay Wilder is incapable of making adjustments. So they're just saying, it was clear. When he throws on the right hand, it's telegraphed. It's here. You can see it coming from a mile away. So you just load up on your shot in between that, and then get close to his chest, because he can only land that shot if you're standing in front of him on the outside of that shot. And they're just doing it over and over and over again. And Malik Scott is standing in the corner. God only knows what he's doing. Malik Scott, Deontay Wilder is now 1-2 with Malik Scott in his corner. And I've been told, like, this was the dream team. Like, Deontay Wilder, Malik Scott is going to really get to Deontay Wilder because Deontay Wilder, he can give Deontay Wilder specific instructions. And we all saw the training footage, right? The training footage, they look so good together on mitts. I mean, it all seemed to be lining up, but it didn't. And it once again shows us what? It shows us that one thing we learned, if we learn one thing in 2023, is that these PBC guys, these fighters in the PBC, once they step off of PBC Island, once you take them off of that, they become ordinary. You're like, damn, I thought this dude, it looked like he had the greatest right hand of all time. He looked like George Foreman, reincarnated. Except George Foreman isn't dead, so that would be weird. And it makes perfect sense because he is not George Foreman reincarnated. Because George Foreman had the greatest right hand of all time, arguably. And he's still alive selling grills. So he did not die and then go into Deontay Wilder's body because Deontay Wilder is a former basketball player who took up boxing at 20. And I'm telling you this because there's a lot of revisionist history out there. Let me get to this real quick. WM Boxing News, $4.99 super chat. AJ would absolutely sleep Wilder, and I really want to see it. It would be a show reel KO, and the fans deserve to see Wilder sent into retirement. Look, man, I'm kind of split on that because I'm watching Deontay Wilder go on his buddy, his journalist, 78 Sports TV News, whatever he calls himself. And I'm watching clips. People are sending me clips of this. I'm like, good Lord. Good Lord. If anybody, like, you talk about knee pad journalism. Knee pad journalism. And Deontay Wilder is out there. And I'm watching AJ after his fight. AJ does his fight. He knocks out. He stops his opponent, Otto Wallin. And then he's talking about Deontay Wilder, and he takes the high road as far as Deontay Wilder. I'm like, that dude right there seems like a good dude. I know some people don't like some stuff Anthony Joshua has said, done. It's fine, but that dude took the high road, and he could have beat Deontay Wilder while he was down right there. Could have. And then Deontay Wilder does what Deontay Wilder does, right? When he has Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury in front of him, nothing. Church mouse. Blessings. He'll bow his head, blessings. But then he'll go over to Ellie Seckback. He'll go over to 78 Sports News, and then he'll say what he really wants to say about these guys that he didn't have the nerve or the balls to say when these guys are right in front of him. I'm looking at this, I'm saying, Anthony Joshua was just right in front of you. Tyson Fury was just right in front of you. And you didn't say any of these things. Now, you're saying all of these things when Ellie is right in front of you. Reporting. In 78 Sports TV and all of his wisdom, right? Puts on his knee pads and starts interviewing Deontay Wilder. And then Deontay Wilder starts spewing his vomit, his vitriol. And it's the saddest thing to see because if anybody had a system behind them, if anybody was privileged in boxing, it was Deontay Wilder because the boxing public was very forgiving of this guy and very, we all understood that this was a project. Bronze medalist. We like what's going on with him. Seems like a good dude. Good story with his daughter. Let's give him time, right? Let's give him time. So it takes 7 years for them to finally step him up against Bermani Staverne, right? And then he wins. It's like, okay, good, man. Like, this is good. This dude's kind of overachieving. It's good. It's good. Luis Ortiz happens. Fun fight. Wins the rematch. Like, okay, man, this is good. It's like, it's good. It's good. Then he takes his heel turn. He starts to warm up to guys like that, the LDBC, all the worst people on planet Earth, right? And I'm watching this interview. And it's a microcosm. What just happened this week? Him going up there, staking it out, and then going on this, doing this interview. and he's talking about Anthony Joshua, and he's watching Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn looks so happy, and he's smiling from ear to ear because I lost, and they don't want to do this fight. They don't want to do this fight. And I have people telling me, well, Calix, he's just trying to talk his way into the fight since he lost the fight. He's still trying to get the pay. No. There's a track record here. This is what he does. Excuses. They don't want the fight. Oh, really? They want to fight a guy who couldn't land 2 punches per round against Joseph Parker? They're scared of that guy? Is that what you're going to go with? They're scared of that guy. They're scared of a guy who looks so bad with his footwork that you got people like me spreading conspiracy theories that the dude was actually wearing Heelys and not boxing shoes because his footwork is so terrible. He's scared of that guy? So I'm split. Like, part of me is like, yeah, let Anthony Joshua destroy Deontay Wilder and send him off. But then the other side, part of me is like, Anthony Joshua should treat this dude like he doesn't exist. He landed 19 punches. 19 punches against Joseph Parker. 19. The whole fight. He looked like he was in concrete. His punches looked like slow motion like this. It looked like they slow-moed Joe Joyce's punches, and that's what Deontay Wilder looked like on December 23rd against Joseph Parker. And all it took was a top 10 guy with good instructions, with discipline, just to make Deontay Wilder look like that. Once you take these guys off of PBC Island and put them in the real world, what do you get with Deontay Wilder? You get a gift draw against Tyson Fury, knocked out against Tyson Fury, knocked out against Tyson Fury, and now 19 punches landed against Joseph Parker. It looks great against Helenius. It looks great against the Viking Warrior, right? I remember being called all kind of race names, racism, all kind of stuff because I said, this dude's fighting Helenius on pay-per-view? And it's like, shut up. This guy is a real-life Viking. Don't you understand? Robert Helenius is a real-life Viking. I didn't know Vikings still existed, but he's a Viking warrior. This guy is a real-life Viking. This is a dangerous fight. And then he destroys Helenius in like 90 seconds. And he looks like the greatest thing on earth. It's the greatest heavyweight of all time. The right hand. The king is back. The king is back. I told you he didn't really lose to Fury. I told you. And what do we have now? We have a guy who landed 19 punches against Joseph Parker. And what's the gospel we always spread on this channel? Myself, you guys in the chat, it's easy to look good against pedestrian opponents. The eye test is the eye test, but when you have to face somebody at some point. We say it about Tank Davis. It's like, okay, looks great, but for the love of God, can you put him in there with somebody? Deontay Wilder had a carefully guided career. Carefully guided. Very, very gingerly, carefully guided career. Right? And the truth of the matter is, look, I don't know what's Hall of Fame or not anymore. Right? But you're going to have people out there saying he overachieved. Fair enough. He overachieved. But at the same time, you guys have been saying that this is one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. This guy could have competed against any other heavyweight of all time. And then he lands 19 punches against Joseph Parker. He loses every fight against Tyson Fury, if we're being honest. So how did he overachieve? How is he overachieving, but at the same time, he's one of the greatest heavyweights that ever lived, and he has a thin resume? How could it be both? Make up your mind. How could it be both? How is that possible? The fact of the matter is this guy was never in that conversation ever. He had a carefully guided career. He has a thin resume. And if you put him in the Hall of Fame, you got to put Joseph Parker in. The American boxing media, man, boy, did they love to try to build some of these American fighters up. The truth of the matter is, if you get Deontay Wilder's resume and you put Anthony Joshua's name at the top of it, those same dudes are saying, look at this Euro bum. Look at this Euro bum with his Euro bum resume. Oh my God. Look at all the light touches. Look at every time he stepped up, he lost. What a Euro bum. Euro bum. Euro bum. So is Deontay Wilder an Amero bum? I don't know. Is he an American? I don't know. All I know is, look, man, historically bad era of heavyweights is what we're in. They're going to lie to you about that too. It's been, there are fun fights to make at the top, but there are fun fights to make at the top because you have some fun heavyweights who are severely flawed. Severely flawed. When you look at the landscape the past couple of years, there was a point in time a couple of years ago where people thought that Fury versus Wilder was the greatest heavyweight trilogy of the modern era and one of the greatest of all time. And it was fun, don't get me wrong. But now it's looking more like Anthony Joshua and Usyk were the top two. And we'll see. We'll see in a couple months. Possibly Fury beats Usyk. But then what does that say? If Fury beats Usyk. Because Fury arguably lost to Ngannou. And what it says is all these guys are severely flawed. And this narrative that these guys are naturally bigger, so they beat smaller heavyweights of previous generation is blown to smithereens by Usyk coming into the division and consolidating 4 of the 5 major belts. Three of the 4 major sanctioning body belts. A cruiserweight comes into the division in a short period of time and accomplishes that. That blows that narrative to smithereens. Severely flawed fighters. All of them at the top. That's what we got. That's what we're dealing with. And Deontay Wilder's a microcosm of that. Severely flawed but fun fighter. It's been fun to follow off and on. There have been some good times, but I need people to put it into proper perspective. He looks great when he has somebody in front of him to where it's easier to look great. And this has all been done by design. But there comes a certain point in time with a fighter where you have to take him out that bubble. This is coming for Tank. And the truth starts to get revealed. Inoue has certain privilege to be fighter of the year, they say. Shout out my guy, Drew. We're about to get into that. Do you see the new Inoue racial narrative, LMAOOO? That's 3 O's. That's 3 O's because we are laughing our A's off. Shout out my guy, Drew. Appreciate you for those super chats. And we're about to get into the Inoue stuff. Pause, by the way. OJ22, I listened to Ring IQ review a little bit of the Wilder interview with 78 Sports. The delusion was out of control. I could hear the slurping from 78. I wonder if he swallowed. I don't know. You have to ask him. I don't know if he did or not. I didn't see the whole interview, so I wouldn't know, but I saw the clips that people sent me. And it's par for the course, right? Because what it shows, what it reveals once again is in PBC world, the PBC super fans, and I've talked about this and people still doubt me on this, is they love to keep fights on paper. They love to talk about mythical matchups. They love for their fighters not to fight the fights. And they were caught in quite the bind this year because they want to brag about all the fights Al Heyman's putting on, but then we try to warn them before these fights happen that you got a rude awakening coming. Because Errol is about to get sent to hell. Fulton Jr. sent to hell. Deontay Wilder gets sent to hell. Once you take these fights off of paper and put them into reality, it becomes something else. Right? So they love to live in this fantasy land to where they can do mythical matchups, play their triangle theories. And since that guy beat that guy, my guy doesn't have to fight that guy. He's already better. And then that guy lost to that guy, so my guy doesn't have to fight that guy either. And then that guy lost to that guy, so my guy doesn't have to fight that guy either. They live in this triangle theory fantasy land, fantasy world, mythical matchup fantasy world to where Tank beats everybody in and around lightweight from the beginning of time. Willie Pep. Have you seen Willie Pep fight? You think Tank loses to that guy? Willie Pep? W. W. Devin Haney? Did you see the 11th round with Linares? W. Lomachenko? Pfft. He's from Ukraine. He's Eastern European. Pfft. W. W. He beats them all. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Now they want him to fight Inoue. Because of course. Of course. Why ask him to fight a top guy from his division? Why do that? Why not just ask for him to fight somebody 3 divisions lower than him with no rehydration clause? Why not? Why not? Why the hell not? Right? These guys live for mythical matchups. And we used to do mythical matchups from fighters from different generations and different weight classes, right? Pound for pound, all-time list, stuff like that. Now these dudes are doing mythical matchups from fighters in the same weight class at the same time. So when Deontay Wilder in the 78 Sports TV interview shows this, even I didn't expect this. Even I was baffled by this. And I know these dudes like the back of my hand. I've observed them. I know what they do. I know how they act. But I'm watching this interview that people are sending me the clips, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, even I didn't think he was capable of doing this. These dudes are getting a mythical victory over Eddie Hearn's reaction to Deontay Wilder losing before Anthony Joshua knocks out Otto Wilder. Eddie Hearn, did you see the smile on his face? Did you see how much he was laughing? Did you see how excited he was? Did you see how excited he was? Oh my God, I'm glad you saw it. I'm glad you saw it because I saw it. Did you see how excited he was when I lost the 78 Sport? I saw it. I saw it. You're right. I saw it. Did you see him smiling from ear to ear? How excited he was. Oh my God. I saw it. I saw it too, champ. I saw it too, King. I saw it, King. I saw it, King. I saw it, King. And then Deontay, well, yeah, you saw it. You saw it. You know what that means. They never wanted that fight, and they still don't want that fight. And I get a mythical victory over Anthony Joshua due to Eddie Hearn's reaction after the fight. He was smiling, so that tells you I would have beat Anthony Joshua in March. And it's perfect. It's a perfect example of where we are with these dudes. These dudes don't want the fights. They don't want the fights. They see what happens when the fights happen. They see what happens when the fights come off of paper and go into reality. Then we can't just go off of betting odds. We can't assume that Tank beats everybody in and around 135. They're still going to do it. Don't get me wrong. But when Deontay Wilder was signed to fight Joseph Parker, oh man, we about to go on a Eurobum tour out in Saudi. We're going to beat Joseph Parker. We're going to beat him down. We're going to knock his head into the 5th row. And after we do that, we're going for that Eurobum Anthony Joshua with his weak resume. Even though he fought all the guys that I wasn't willing to fight, we're going to go beat up that Eurobum. And then we're going to knock his head into the 8th round, into the 8th row. We're going to go on our Eurobum tour and destroy everyone. And all we have to do is touch Anthony Joshua's chin with that right hand one time, and it's over. We will eviscerate him. It will be evaporated. And simultaneously, we can continue to play this game over here to where Tyson Fury wore egg weights in his glove. Remember that? Because your gloves do this when you have egg weights in them. When you have egg weights in your gloves, did y'all know this? Did y'all understand? I need y'all to understand the science behind this. When you have an egg weight in your glove does this. It does that like that. It goes like that. Not like that. It goes like that. Like that. All right. And I need y'all to understand something else too, is it makes perfect sense for your own trainer to put a date rape drug in your water bottle. Makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. Don't question it. It makes perfect sense. I need y'all to understand something else too. It is perfectly possible for the fighter to wear egg weights in his gloves for not only his second fight, but the third fight. 3 straight fights, actually. First fight, second fight, third fight. So it's perfectly possible to sneak egg weights that make your gloves do this into your gloves for 3 straight fights. And it makes perfect sense to not fire the trainer that is watching the gloves get wrapped, watching the hands get wrapped, and the gloves be put on with egg weights underneath them. Perfectly makes sense to not fire that guy, but to fire the guy that allegedly put the date rape drug in your water bottle. Makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. So that's where we're at with our buddy Deontay Wilder. And look, the sad part about this is, let me see where we're at. I had too much coffee this morning. That's my bad. Just way too much coffee. The sad part about the Deontay Wilder story is it could have been a story of overachieving, right? This guy makes a ton of money, gives us some fun memories. He's a guy who makes it all the way to the Oval Office for the pardoning ceremony of Jack Johnson. A guy who achieves a lot, right? For a guy who picks up boxing at 20. It could have been that way, but then dudes run it. They hijack it. Then it becomes all kind of vitriol. It becomes all kind of, if you dare criticize this guy one time, we're coming after you. We will dox you. We will destroy you. We will bully you offline. You come after this guy one time. And then he does a 180 and warms up to these people. And then it becomes something else. And then the American boxing media starts to portray this guy as one of the greatest heavyweights that ever lived, the greatest right hand that ever lived, all-time great heavyweight, all this stuff. And you're just sitting there, you're like, why are they doing this? Get a hold of yourselves. Get a grip. Why can't we just enjoy a dude overachieving? A pedestrian resume, but it's still fun. He's knocking guys out. It's fun. He tried against Fury. He tried to step up and win against Fury. It didn't happen. Now he tried to step up and win against Joseph Parker. It didn't happen. So we say he fell short, right? But he still was able to become a top 5 fighter. He was never the guy. He was never the guy at heavyweight, right? He still was able to get in the conversation in a historically weak era. And let's just be honest about that. But you got boxing writers, publications lying to you about this era, about who these fighters are. And it starts to rub people the wrong way. And that's when you start to get the pushback. Sad to see. Speaking of Loma, why he in your D-style straight lying from all different angles. 1A, 1B, you got 11 guys in. No, I don't. I can put 1A, 1B if I want. Now I don't, but why not? Now Loma's in my top 10 and he's not. Oh, man. So we get up to AJ, right? And I've been saying for AJ, I want to see AJ form an identity in the ring. He's a guy who also says some weird things, right? Outside of the ring. And he looks kind of all over the place. And some of these performances have been, but it turns out, man, like after the second Usyk fight, I said, I actually thought Anthony Joshua would perform better in the second Usyk fight than the first one. I thought he made proper adjustments in that fight. I thought Robert Garcia did a good job with him in that fight, giving him instructions in that fight. And he just lost to a better fighter. And it turns out Usyk may be the best fighter in that division. It may be everybody in that division is flawed, including Usyk. And Usyk loses to Fury and everybody's just flawed. Maybe Usyk is too small for the division. Who knows? Who knows, right? We'll see how it plays out with Fury, and that'll give us a good gauge of where we're at. But he lost to a better fighter at the end of the day. I don't think he underachieved against Usyk. Usyk just beat him. He made the proper adjustments from fight 1 to fight 2. He was overvalued by the betting odds in the first fight, so it looked like an upset, but he probably just lost to the better fighter. Made proper adjustments in the second fight and lost. Franklin didn't look all that good. Helenius, he knocked Helenius out. What do you want? Knocked him out. And now he knocks out Otto Wallen, a guy who Tyson Fury struggled with. So we say at this point, we have to say that people were over exaggerating the demise of Anthony Joshua. He's still the guy in the division as far as the biggest name, possibly. Some people would say Tyson Fury. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. But he's certainly in the conversation with Usyk and Fury. Certainly top 3. So I was impressed with Anthony Joshua's performance. It was very disciplined. It was methodical. He methodically broke Otto Wallen down. He looked like he had a guy who had a head about him, and he looked like a guy who has something going forward. He doesn't look like a guy on the way out, to me. He's a guy who is, I would love to see Joshua versus Fury after Fury versus Usyk is up. I'd love to see that fight. Despite what goes on between those two fighters, I would love to see a third fight with Usyk. Anthony Joshua, all those fights are entertaining to me and intriguing to me. And the same thing with Deontay Wilder. If they still want to do that fight off of Deontay Wilder loss, guess what? Knock him out. Knock him into retirement. Inoue has Japanese privilege over Crawford. 199 super chat, Drew. Perfect segue. Inoue. I'm watching Inoue versus the Polish yesterday. And Naoya Inoue, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, and in the Calix panel of voters, which there is one, we had our emergency meeting yesterday after the Inoue fight. We had an emergency meeting to redo our pound for pound list, in which D-Style had a big problem with because it had 1A, 1B, right? 1A, 1B of Crawford versus Crawford and Inoue. 1A, 1B, and you just can't have that. Forget that it's your own list and it's subjective. We just can't have that. So now we don't. We had an emergency meeting, and Inoue is now the pound for pound king. He's a pound for pound king. And not only that, he's the fighter of the year. And before I explain why, let me explain the performance. What we now have with Inoue this year is he beat the number 1 guy in the division in July. And he beat him soundly, and he destroyed him, and he knocked him out. And he didn't lose a second of that fight. What we had yesterday against Tapales was he beat the number 2 guy in the division, became undisputed, unified all the belts for the second time in a year and 8 days, I believe it was. Two different divisions. So he steps up a division and beats number 1 and number 2 in the division. And he beats them so soundly that he doesn't lose a round the whole year. Didn't lose a round. Any round that you gave to Polish yesterday was a comparative round. That's what we call a comparative round. You're just comparing the round before to this round. The guy did a little better this round, so we'll give him a round. Or we didn't expect him to do anything against Inoue, so he landed 10 punches this round, so we'll give him the round. That's what you had. Inoue won every round. I thought Inoue knocked Tapales down in the second round with a jab. That wasn't called. It was called a slip. Knocks him down at the end of the 4th round. And then Tapales still finds a way. This is where I'm going to give Tapales a lot of credit. He finds a way to go 6 more rounds with Inoue before he stopped. I've seen Inoue just completely destroy guys when he has them down on the canvas. Tapales finds a way to go 6 more rounds, and Tapales actually performs better than Stephen Fulton Jr. Leading up to the Stephen Fulton Jr. fight, a lot of people were having trouble who to pick. They're going to revise history on that, but they were having trouble who to pick. And Inoue comes in there and wins every second of that fight and destroys him. Tapales, to his credit, he was a 20-1 underdog. Everybody was writing him off. He went in there fighting to win, and he had some success as far as landing some punches. He overperformed a lot of people's expectations, and he actually had more success in this fight than Stephen Fulton Jr. And once again, when we take fights off of paper and put them into reality, surprising stuff happens. If you would have told people earlier this year that Tapales would have more success against Inoue than Fulton Jr., they'd call you crazy. But here we are. It's why we don't keep fights on paper. It's why we reward fighters who take as many fights as possible off of paper and put them into reality. But I'm watching this performance, and then after I see people say Inoue got hit too much. And so I have to question, if they watch lower weight class fights often. Because when you're fighting as a lower weight class fighter, you have to contend with guys throwing naturally more punches per round. As you go down, the amount of punches thrown per round on average goes up. As you go down, fighters are naturally younger, and they're naturally fighting tougher fights and more meaningful fights, more legacy fights at a younger age, because they're forced into those fights because they're not getting paid as much. They're not as privileged as the upper weight class fighters who now are waiting until their 30s to fight their tough fights. So people aren't understanding that when a guy is 30 years plus in the lower weight classes, and he's having a lot of success, and it looks like he's either not getting worse or he's maybe even getting better, that should flag you that that's a special fighter. So Naoya Inoue now at 30 years old, it's not natural. Look at Bam now at 23. Do we assume that Bam almost a decade from now is still looking the way he's looking? It's why we always say Chocolatito, Gallo, Estrada, special fighters. Why? Because it's not normal. It's alien-like for fighters in their 30s in the lower weight classes to be fighting at that high of a level against naturally younger guys and guys who naturally throw more punches per round. It's not normal. It's more normal for the upper weight class fighters, especially now with cycle on, cycle off, not fighting as often, to fight well into their 30s. Lower weight classes is not. I think we have an uneducated American boxing public who doesn't understand what they're looking at when they look at lower weight class fighters. It's why we have stuff like when Inoue wins a fight at 122, they start to call for him to fight Tank. Because they simply don't know anybody below 135 to even put in there with Inoue. They don't know the names. They've never seen Tapales fight. Hell, they barely even saw a handful of Fulton Jr. fights. So they don't know. And they don't know what they don't know. And they're loud about it. The loudest in the room, generally the dumbest. But they don't know that it's normal for guys to get hit. Look at how much Chocolatito got hit in fights. Marquez got hit in fights. Barrera. Take your pick. Morales, they got hit. Oh my God. Vasquez, Marquez, look at that 4-fight rivalry. Guys down there get hit. It's boxing, and guys are throwing a lot of punches down there, and it's more difficult for you to fight negative down there. Guys are mixing it up more at earlier ages. They're fighting more meaningful fights on a more consistent basis, and they're fighting more because they're making peanuts compared to the guys in the upper weight classes. So it's more natural that these guys would get hit. Oh my God, he got hit. Oh my God, he got hit. That must mean he sucks. Must mean he sucks. American fighters don't get hit, except they do. But Inoue gets hit too much. He got hit too much in this fight. That's very alarming. It's very alarming that he got hit too much. And another thing that they're not taking into account is the method to the madness of getting hit. We saw this with Gennady Golovkin for years. We saw it with Bud Crawford for years. Now we see it with Inoue. These guys, their preferred method of fighting is fighting. They want to knock guys out. They're the guys, I've explained this. They show up to the club with white G-Nikes on. They go to the most heavily trafficked part of the club, the hallway where everybody walks. They stick their foot all the way out, and they dare you to step on it. I dare you to step on these white shoes, these beautiful brand new white shoes I just took out the box. I'm going to stand in the most heavily trafficked part of the club and stick it all the way out and dare you to step on it. Dare you. And you better apologize immediately or else there's confrontation. That's Inoue. That was Golovkin. That's Bud. These guys like to fight. They like to mix it up. They're willing to get hit on purpose. They're willing to stay in the pocket, stick their neck out, dare you to punch them just so they can land back. Guys, Inoue and Bud are fully capable of fighting the American style of boxing to where they just fight negative, clinch you to death like Andre Ward, headbutt you to death like Andre Ward, coast to easy decision victories like Dimitri Bivol. They're perfectly capable of doing that. They want to knock your head off. They want to knock your head off. They want to knock your head into the fifth row. That's what they want. That's what they want. They'd prefer to do that, and they will put themselves at risk in order to do that. So they don't take into account that Inoue could fight his style to where he's not getting hit as much. He can. He's capable of it. Wouldn't you rather fighters knock guys out? Wouldn't you rather fighters stay in the pocket? And not only make a fighter miss. I mean, look, they're capable of making a fighter miss and then clinching. They're capable of fighting that style. They'd rather make you miss by that much or allow you to hit them with something just so they can tag you back with a harder punch. Watch all of the trades. Tapales versus Inoue. Tapales is landing some shots, but look at the body shots Inoue's landing in those trades. Look at those shots upstairs that Inoue is landing in counters. It's just beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. I'll be damned if I'm going to come on here and be overly critical of Inoue's performance, especially when you dudes are handling American fighters with such care and such fragility. You are handling these American fighters like a fragile package. Like, we're going to bubble wrap. Is that enough bubble wrap? But no, not enough bubble wrap. Bubble wrap it more. Bubble wrap it more. Bubble wrap it more. That's how you dudes are handling American fighters, and it's why we are where we are. I'm putting out, and this is how people historically don't understand things. I put out the belt count per country, and USA now has 17 belts. Mexico has 12. Japan has 10. Historically, it's not normal for other countries to be close to USA, that close to USA when it comes to a belt count. It's not. 68 major belts, fellas. We should have more than 17. I'm sorry. They don't care about belts. Well, I don't know what to tell you. It shouldn't be surprising to you when your expectations of American fighters have lowered so far down to where Tank doesn't actually have to fight the fights, because all Tank has to do is watch fighter A beat fighter B, and when fighter A beats fighter B, he doesn't have to fight fighter B anymore. He's automatically better because triangle theory. And then when you throw triangle theory back in their face, it doesn't work, right? It doesn't stick to them. It doesn't stick. You can't do that. That's triangle theory, and everybody knows it doesn't work. I know it doesn't work. Why are you doing it? It shouldn't be surprising to you when your expectations of American fighters have gone from here down here, and your expectations of foreign fighters are still up here, that foreign fighters are now exceeding expectations and American fighters are diminishing. And the sad thing is we're still producing a lot of great talent. We still have a lot of young American talent coming up. Just look at Top Rank's roster. Good Lord. But something is broken from the prospect level up to the championship level. Prospect, contender, championship level. Something is broken. We are breaking our American fighters. I don't want to hear it, man. I don't want to hear he's fighting on a Tuesday morning. Who does that? He can't be pound for pound if he fights on Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning? He fights on Tuesday morning at 5 a.m.? He can't be pound for pound. He won't come to America? Dude, he's making $10 million per fight over there, something like that. You want him to come to America? Everybody else. American fighters, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. It's about money. If it don't make dollars, it's called prize fighting. I can't feed my kids' legacy. I can't feed my kids' legacy. Stupidest things I've ever heard in my life. I can't feed my kids' legacy. I can't feed my kids' legacy. They can't feed their kid. You heard him. He can't feed his kid's legacy. So stop bothering about fighting the fights and fighting outside of his hometown. Stop bothering him about fighting outside of Las Vegas. He can't feed his kid's legacy. You heard him. But when it comes to Inoue, he won't leave Japan. He Well, what's he scared? He won't leave Japan. Yeah, he's making like way more money over there than he make over here. And guys are willing to go over there because lower weight class guys are willing to go to Japan because that's where the money is in the lower weight classes. He won't fight in America? He won't. He must be scared. He must be scared. He must be scared. If it don't make yen, it don't make sense. That sounds scared to me. That sounds scary. He can't feed his kids legacy. Can't feed him legacy. Oh, that sounds scary. That sounds so scary. The fact of the matter is, we should be enjoying these great generational talents. A lot of the guys that have been the loudest in the room have been so wrong in 2023. They were the ones telling you Spence was on the same level of Crawford. Crawford destroys him. They were the same ones telling you Deontay Wilder, if he touches any heavyweight in the history of boxing, any fighter in the history of boxing, pound for pound, they just go to sleep. He would baptize them with that right hand. Baptize them. And then he looks like he's wearing Heelys against Joseph Parker. He fights Tyson Fury, and it looks like his trainer gave him the date rape drug. It's the only thing that can explain it is his opponent was wearing egg weights because the glove's going like that. They've been so wrong about everything, and they're still going to be the loudest. It's not going to shut them up. It's not going to shut them up. They could see Inoue destroy everybody at 122, go up, destroy everybody at 126. They'll still be saying stuff like, well, he won't fight Tank. Tank's willing to meet him at 130. How do you know? Tank said on Instagram, why do y'all keep asking me about this dude? He's 3 weight classes lower than me. Even Tank is saying it. He won't fight Tank. He won't fight Tank. He's not going to fight Tank, though. He's not going to fight Tank, though. To them, dude's 122 pounds. 118. What did he fight? 118, 112? He was 108 pounds? Midget. Why isn't he riding a horse around the track? He should be riding a horse around the track, not in a boxing ring. Midget. Why is he on a horse? Why is he in horse racing? Why is he in boxing? These dudes don't understand what goes on down there. They don't watch it. They don't know Josh Franco from Bam Rodriguez. They don't know Kazuto Ioka from Junto Nakatani. They don't know. They don't know. Pound for pound list. Why is a horse jockey on a pound for pound list? That's what they're going to say. There's no way he can be pound for pound king when he fights on Tuesday morning. No way. Why doesn't he come to America? Hype job. Nobody on his resume. Look how weak the resume is. You were saying that before the Fulton fight. And you're still saying it after the Fulton fight. And you were calling Fulton a pound for pound talent. And he destroyed him. And you guys still wouldn't shut up. They can't name anybody on Inoue's resume because they don't follow the weight classes. I saw this, man. It is not just them. It's not just the dumb boxing public. They've been miseducated by even big publications. I'm watching these dudes, man. Like even a Thomas Hauser. Thomas Hauser wrote an article back in May saying Anthony Joshua should retire. And nothing against him, man. Like, good writer. Guys wrote great books. But for the love of God, man, Thomas Hauser, when he was doing Fighter of the Decade in 2010s, Chocolatito was not on the list. How? It should not shock you when guys are doing their Fighter of the Year this year and they'll vote Bud over Inoue. And fair enough, man. Do what y'all want to do. But these same guys were voting a part-time fighter as their Fighter of the Decade in 2010s. Floyd Mayweather fought 10 times in a decade. And he fought once in the second half of the decade. And it was against a guy who was 0-0. And yet they gave him Fighter of the Decade over a dude who fought 27 times, had over double the amount of knockouts as Floyd had fights, and he did it within 4 weight classes in Chocolatito. 3-4 weight classes. And they gave the Fighter of the Decade to Floyd. And you expect these dudes to be educated, these young dudes coming up, when this is what they're getting from publications? So you're going to see a lot of Bud Fighter of the Year. Fair enough. Bud did us boxing fans a great service. And Bud is a special generational talent, all-time great. But this is where the separation is between Inoue and Bud, in my opinion. And we'll talk pound for pound now. When you look at the pound for pound, when you look at my top 10 pound for pound, Inoue, Bud, Canelo, Usyk, Haney, Teofimo, Bam, Beterbiev, Shakur, Bivol. And have at it. People can talk bad about it. Do whatever you want to do. But when you look at the activity level of those fighters, the most active fighters on that list, Bam has 9 fights since 2020. Since the COVID lockdowns, Bam has 9 fights since 2020. Canelo has 8 fights since 2020. Shakur Stevenson, 8 fights since 2020. So you have guys who have been consistent with their level of opposition, but activity level too. They've been consistent. And we call those fighters full-time fighters. A full-time fighter is somebody, realistically, right? I think we should all come to agreement on this. A full-time fighter should be a guy who fights twice per year. And my pound for pound list, if a guy doesn't fight in 12 months, for the love of God, just take him off the list. If a dude hasn't done anything in a year, take him off the list. What are you doing? A year, that should be acceptable behavior. You don't fight within a year. You should be off the list. That's why I took Gallo off the list. Hurt my heart. I wanted to keep Gallo on the list. Had to take him off. Dude, fight. But you look at the least active fighters on that list since 2020. Bud, 4 fights. Usyk, 4 fights. Beterbiev, 4 fights. And people are going to throw out all kinds of excuses. I get it. There's a track record at this point. When you go off of 4 calendar years, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and in 2020, you had to expect that people were going to fight once that year. That's it. It's fair expectation, right? It's why the fighter of the year that year, both of them had 1 fight. That's understandable. 2020 was a different year. We get it. 2021, 2022, 2023. The output doesn't go up in 4 calendar years. We call those fighters part-time fighters at that point. And those are all special fighters. Why I have him on the pound for pound list, despite being not as active. But special fighter. I've been saying it for a decade on here. When y'all were out there slurping Adrian Broner for weight bullying and throwing cash in Popeye's toilet and flushing it down the toilet and doing whatever kind of behavior he was doing, I was saying this dude over here is way better than this dude who can't shoulder roll and can't do offense and defense at the same time in Adrian Broner. Y'all calling him a top 5 pound for pound fighter. This is the guy, Bud Crawford. So it's no disrespect when I say, in a way, it belongs higher than Bud, because I've been praising Bud for a long time too, but there's clear separation. Okay, and let's attack this as far as a pound for pound list. As far as my list, I see 4 fighters who have special abilities, particularly when it comes to punch placement, and that's Inoue, Bud, Usyk, Canelo. And there are other fighters who have that special abilities too. Special fighters, all-time greats, Chocolatito, Gallo Estrada. Gallo Estrada is separated from those top 4. Why? Because he doesn't fight within 12 months. It's like, dude, get him out of here. It's not fighting. I love the dude. Love him to death. He hasn't fought in 12 months. Get him out of here. He's off the list. Chocolatito. People can whine and moan and gnash their teeth all they want about Chocolatito got robbed against Gallo Estrada. Fair enough, but he lost. And I'm the biggest Chocolatito fan in the world. Gallo beat him. It is what it is. Gallo beat him. And the third fight wasn't all that controversial. I'm sorry to break it to you, my fellow Chocolatito fans. So he lost to Gallo. He hasn't been all that active. Get him off the list. Lomachenko. Tough break against Devin Haney. But you also fought once the year before against Jermaine Ortiz. Didn't look all that good. Maybe you got a gift decision in that fight. I love Lomachenko. Big fan. But you haven't been all that active and people will throw out Ukraine. I get it. But at this point, he's separated from that pack. So you got that 4, right? Where have Inoue and Bud separated themselves from Canelo and Usyk is they continue to get knockouts in title fights. Those top 4 guys, resume heavy guys. Great accomplishments throughout multiple weight classes, right? Multiple jumps, accolades, undisputed, all those guys, and a ton of title fights between them. They're fighting meaningful fight after meaningful fight after meaningful fight. Those are the 4, right? But I think where Inoue and Bud have separated themselves from Canelo and Usyk at this point, currently, not all time, but currently on pound for pound list, is they're still knocking guys out and they're still, I feel, putting on pound for pound performances consistently. Those 2 guys just look special currently right now. And it's special for Bud to still be there. But then this is where Inoue separates himself from Bud, is the amount of times he's doing it. Look, man, people are going to throw out excuses, but Bud hasn't been as active as he should be. He fought once this year. He's fought once every year since 2020. 1 fight 2020, 1 fight 2021, 1 fight 2022, 1 fight 2023. And once again, it hurts my heart. These are all fighters I like. These are all fighters I love. These are all fighters that I've big upped for years and years, a decade. But they're not above criticism. And Bud hasn't been as active as he should be. He's a part-time fighter. And Inoue is a full-time fighter. And how do I know this? Since 2020, Inoue has fought 7 times in the same span that Bud has fought 4. He's almost doubled Bud's output. He's consistently fought, no tune-ups, he's consistently fought the fights, 2 fights per year throughout his career. And Bud is now a once-per-year fighter. Inoue is now doubling Bud's output. He's doubled Bud's output for 3 years now. Doubled it. And done it in title fights, all title fights, and all knockouts. So he's putting on the same performances as Bud. He's winning undisputed in multiple weight classes like Bud, but he's doing it more. He's doing more fights. More fights. And this year, 2023, is a microcosm of that. Bud puts on the performance of the year, edges out Inoue earlier in the week versus Fulton Jr. Another great performance, another historic performance. But Bud's against Spence, boy, he beat Spence down, and he did us a great service as boxing fans, because the Spence fans were getting all kind of out of control. And that beat them right back into submission, and it led to the most glorious meltdowns I've ever seen. Online boxing. Most glorious meltdowns I've ever seen. I was sitting here licking the tears. And then, but here's the thing. Inoue comes back within 2 months and announces his next fight. Within 1 month, and announces the next fight. I'm going to go for undisputed. I'm going to do it in December. And he fights the fight and he wins. And you can say Bud has to wait around for the rematch clause. I get all that. But once again, we have a track record here with Bud. Once per year for 4 years now. Inoue, the track record is he's doubling Bud's output. Inoue is already telling you after the Tapales fight, I'm coming back in May. And this is a likely opponent, Luis Nery. MJ Akhmadaliev, another guy I could possibly fight. I'm coming back in 5 months. You're going to see me again in 5 months. It's the beautiful thing about Canelo is we know we have a plan. May, September. May, September. We're going to see Canelo. Even if Canelo loses to Dmitry Bivol. 17 days later, he announces a super fight with Gennady Golovkin. After a loss, other fighters, his peers, Canelo's peers, will disappear for a year, year and a half after a loss. Hell, they'll disappear for a year and a half after a win. Canelo announces a fight after a loss, 17 days later after the loss. We have consistent pattern of behavior with certain fighters. And if you look at the pound for pound list, we have that with Inoue. We trust that Inoue will be back in May and will be back again in December. We trust that it'll be Nery, Akhmadaliev, other top guys in the division, and then he'll move to 26 in 2025. And once again, we've seen so many upsets, fellas. We've seen betting odds Consecal almost upsets my guy Navarrete. Robeisy Ramirez, upset. Robeisy Ramirez and Navarrete fight 3 times that year. One of the only fighters to do it. They're like a handful of fighters. There was 4 of them in ESPN's top 100 who fought more than twice. And those are 2 of them. It's more difficult to get up for another training camp and another training camp and another training camp while these other fighters are fighting once per year. You're working 8 weeks out the year? One training camp? It's more difficult to win those fights. When you take fights off of paper, put them into reality, stuff happens. And with Inoue, now we have more fights. We have 7 fights as opposed to Bud's 4 since 2020. And now we have 2 fights as opposed to Bud's 1 this year. And he did it against the number 1 guy in the division, and the number 2 guy in the division. He consolidated all the belts within a calendar year, much like Canelo did at super middleweight. He's fighter of the year. Not only is he pound for pound king due to activity, that's the separation, right? I talked about the separation between Inoue, Bud, Canelo, Usyk from everybody else on the list. Now I've talked about the separation between the top 2. And it's slight because you watch Inoue fight, it's much like what we had with Pacquiao and Mayweather for years. You watch Inoue fight, you say that's the pound for pound king. You watch Bud fight, you say that's pound for pound king. But guess what? Guess who's doing that twice as much as the other guy? Inoue. Inoue. Now he's number 1. He's in our faces more. He's making his claim more. He's making his claim double the amount of times as Bud Crawford. And that's why he's also fighter of the year. He's doubled Bud Crawford's output this year as far as fights. Fought the number 1, number 2 guy in the division, consolidated all the belts in the lineal title. And on top of that, he didn't lose a round in doing it, and he got 2 knockouts. He's the guy. Look, Bud Crawford, that fight against Errol Spence, he did the same thing. Same thing. But once again, I'm not going to give a full-time award to a part-time fighter. And that's what we have with Bud now. That's what we have with Beterbiev now. It's what we have with Usyk now. These are part-time fighters now, fellas. They're at that point in their career where you're going to see them once per year. And they're still special enough fighters. They still built up enough credibility. They're still special enough to stay in shape to where even fighting once per year, their sword is still sharp. You got to give them that. And they're still going to stay on pound for pound list because of that, as long as they fight within a 12-month period. But they're still part-time fighters. And when we have 2 guys on the same plane and we're looking for separation, that's it right there. That's it. Inoue's just fighting. He's making his claim twice as many times, double the amount of times as Bud Crawford. That's the separation. And we've got in Inoue. In the American media, boxing media, a lot of them caught up, but some of them still not there. And it's to their own detriment. But we're dealing with an all-time great here. We're dealing with a special fighter. This guy has it all. He can do everything. He can fight any type of style. And for these people saying he got hit too much against Marlon Tapales, no fight is going to be the same with this guy. Fulton Jr. completely destroys him. Tapales, he got hit too much, but he still won every round. And I would not expect him to fight the same way against Luis Nery or MJ Akhmadaliev, or if he steps up to 126 against a Ray Vargas or whoever, Figueroa. And the fact that these guys are trying to roll out Tank Davis as a guy who could beat him tells you that they see him as a threat, right? And it's hilarious to me to see some of these guys warm up to Bud Crawford. By the way, for years, the PBC fans have been disparaging Bud Crawford and Canelo alike. Bud Crawford was top-ranked Toby, right? Canelo was cement-footed and overrated and slow. And now they're the 2 most prized possessions of PBC world. And now you're going to have people adopt Bud Crawford here in America, all to keep Inoue away from pound for pound #1 and fighter of the year. Hilarious. Hilarious. And that's why you just keep it consistent, man. You don't have to bend yourself into pretzels and play mental gymnastics if you just keep it consistent. On that note, man, I'm out of here. I'll see y'all tomorrow. God bless. Peace.